great to meet you in person finally.
Yeah, right. So we have to give the Jewish communist Zuckerberg at least some credit because we would have never met without Facebook, right?
That's true, but I don't think he would be particularly excited about this
No,
event.
it's going to be. That's why we're going to be recording this. I'm going to be placing it in YouTube and BitChute because
Great,
our
yeah,
censors,
it's the way to go. Yeah.
our great and glorious censors will make sure that we don't get through if they can help it. So,
Uh,
Enrique, I'm going to introduce you real quick here. If
sure.
people, and I appreciate what you gave me your little bio here. I was actually didn't know all this about you. I got nervous. I was like, wait a minute, I'm just a carpenter or a construction worker from Pennsylvania, you know.
I've read your Facebook posts. They're very insightful and intelligent. So I don't care where your paycheck comes from. Intelligence is not a domain necessarily of one particular social class. I met a lot of morons with numerous PhDs and a lot of
Yes.
wise people who were shepherds.
Right, right. That's true. So that's one thing our Lord taught us is that, intelligence is not from a school. It's from God.
Precisely.
Okay. So you are Enrique Vargas. I pronounced that correct.
Yeah,
Uh, a
absolutely.
director of musicology. Uh,
Doctor of musicology,
oh, I'm
PhD.
sorry. I'm sorry. DR. Okay, doctor of musicology. Oh, great. I have an album you have to listen to. I don't know if you
I,
have.
yeah, I've been touring. I toured all my life, and since I hit the big 6-0, I'm not doing that. But I've done
Well,
my share.
I remember, and I would be remiss in saying I'm a member of our recording group called the Artful Brothers.
Yeah. I heard your stuff. I like that stuff.
Oh, did you like it? Oh, good.
Yeah,
See that,
I
Jeremy?
really do. That's
All
real
right.
Americana.
All right.
That's great stuff.
Well, we have two new tracks coming out.
All right, I'm sure
Yep.
I'll thoroughly enjoy them.
All right. Okay, so you're Enrique Vargas, a doctor in musicology, a self-made historian, I'll say, instead of amateur, because you're much better than that. Born in the USSR, participated in dissident movements, uh, new leading dissidents like Solzhenitsyn and Sarahov. I'm not sure I'm familiar with.
Sakharov was the European Union has a Sakharov award now. Since he was social democrat. He is very much promoted by European Union and all other establishment conglomerates. Solzhenitsyn, not so much due to certain reasons we'll talk about
Yeah, right.
later.
Well,
Yeah.
that's odd that he would, that the European Union would adopt an anti-communist dissident.
Well, he was not exactly. Sakharov was a famous physicist. He was social democrat, so he was globalist. He was pro-European Union, etc. So, European Union is anti-communist. What is a social democrat? It's a communist without a gun.
Good. Okay, and you said you've been studying communist genocide many decades. It's a very serious topic that people in America, we just gloss over, except for one group.
Yeah, but this is
One
the
group.
big problem with America. America is not realizing that she's being devoured. She is already 99% devoured, in my humble opinion.
Oh, I agree. It's my
There
opinion.
is, yeah, there is a certain poetic justice in it. I know it's hard to hear, but America is largely responsible for communist genocide. Largely, and I mean seriously responsible. Not American
Citizens.
citizen, not American, but certain industrial elites
Our foreign
conceived,
policy.
financed, perpetrated, and got rich on communist genocide. There are names and faces behind that. So this is
Well, it says here that you lived in the United States 20 years ago. Where
for
about?
20 years. No, for 20 years.
Oh, for 20 years. Oh, for 20
And
years.
also 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, namely in 2001, I returned to Spain because the United States became the country I stopped recognizing anymore. And see, to be quite frank,
If I may interrupt, whereabouts? Forgive me for interrupting. Whereabouts did you reside?
Oh,
You know,
first, I lived in that pimple on the butt of the earth, which is called New York.
talk about poetic justice. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, right. I lived in Austin for a while. I lived in San Fran for a while.
Wow, you're
I
hitting all
traveled.
the little hot spots, bro.
I traveled through all 50 states by bus. I lived in LA a little bit. But by bus, I mean on tour bus. I
Yeah, yeah.
toured a lot. But America, to me, now is not what it used to be before 1965. America is a completely different country. America largely became a third world country. It is a third world country, both demographically and ideologically. You cannot
Except,
import.
I guess, not materially wealth-wise, though. Not yet. Coming.
The material, as Tucker Carlson points out, the middle class, American middle class, is being dissolved. It is becoming poorer and less numerous. The elites are getting richer and less numerous. America is in a horrible shape, and she better wakes up. I'm 60 years old, but I'm good with firearms. I would go and fight if I only knew where and how.
Right. Yes, I hear you.
I only because there are a lot of armed patriots in the U.S. There is no leadership because the
Okay.
leadership has to have the knowledge of international strategy because we're living in a globalist world, and the leadership would have to know military strategy and so forth. And unfortunately, I do not see any leadership, any group of patriots, no matter how numerous it may be, it will not get anywhere without competent leadership.
Well,
And
to,
there's
to tell
none.
you the truth, yeah, I looked into that myself because it just occurred to me there's absolutely, they have us locked down. They built the fence posts and they put the fence post in the 60s. They started putting the crossbars on the fencing all through the 70s. The 80s, they started putting the barb and cantina wire on the tops. And then in the 90s and now the 2000s, they put all the monitors and the lighting and the electronic surveillance around us. So basically, we are a caged people. There's no way out.
But
And
I blame the right for this. I don't
oh,
blame the left. You see, if a scorpion bites you, you don't blame scorpion. You blame your own stupidity for stepping onto the goddamn thing. Pardon me,
yes, right.
French.
That's all right. No,
Uh,
my point
the
is,
right.
like, to your point is, Enrique, how could we possibly organize a resistance? Well, even now, we'll get to the COVID crapola, but how can we organize resistance when there is not one way of telecommunications that we can talk to each other without a third party knowing about it in our
But
government?
there are geniuses, there are computer geniuses that can find their way around it. There's that great guy who is hiding. What's his name? McAfee.
Oh, McAfee, yeah, yeah, yeah.
McAfee, he is the dude who's working on Internet Point Two. He is the guy who's talking constantly about electronic surveillance and how to beat it. I think, from my standpoint, there has to be two components: electronic experts. There are a lot of brilliant computer experts who are patriots who can find the way around technological spying. Then there must be military commanders. There must be a lot of the whole, if you will, the whole team of experts in different fields. Today we live in a highly specialized world. Military experts are not computer experts. Bacteriology experts are not military experts, and so forth. In order to organize um, viable resistance, there must be experts in different fields, including diplomacy, international affairs, economics, this, that, and other. And this is so hard to organize. We're living America. Listen, what I'm thinking is the right has been continuously on the run. The right is a cowardly right, where we seem to be apologizing all the time for being right wing. Whom are we apologizing to? To pro genocidal leftist scum? responsible for all this satanic genocide going on in the world for the last 200 years. Whom are we apologizing to? I'm not apologizing for standing for my faith, for standing for my civilization, for standing for my culture, and not apologizing at all. On the contrary, I'm proud of it. And I consider the left truly expression of Satanism. I'll tell you why. The left is operating, no matter what branch of the left, socialists, anarchists, communists, and so forth. They're operating on the satanic premise that the paradise can be built on this earth.
Right.
Period. With this, it's sufficient to denominate this ideological trend as satanic. No, there is no paradise in this physical dimension. In the dimension plugged by entropy, third law of thermodynamics, mortality, and so on and so forth. And humans by nature are flawed. You cannot build a paradise with flawed material. The only thing we can we can aspire to is being kind to one another, being as free as we can be, and the concept like kindness and empathy, they come normally through faith. We cannot live without faith. Once you take, as Dostoevsky, paraphrasing Dostoevsky, he said that once you take Christianity out of man, you turn him into an animal.
The beast.
It's a
the
beast.
biblical term, the beast. Yeah.
Yes.
Listen, totally understand everything you just said. And the thing is about the left is, like you said, we're apologizing to the right. I've been criticized. I'm here in Pennsylvania. We have supposedly a right-wing house in Pennsylvania, even though, and our governor is like a loony left-wing
I know.
Jewish Muslim convert with a transsexual health secretary.
Yeah, I've seen
running
that
Pennsylvania.
freak. Yeah, I've seen that freak. But see, but again, they are.
Let me finish my point, Enrique. What my point was, to your point, is that the left has no problem being brutally strong and getting what they want and doing. They are people of action.
That's exactly.
Republicans and Donald Trump are talk. Oh, this is wrong. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, we're going to do that.
But that's my point, brother. That's my point. In what sense? We are like a mugging victim who's trying to defend himself from the mugger, citing him the law, saying, you know what you're doing is against the law. No, you blow his goddamn brains out. Right. That's what you do. Right. That's what how you're supposed to. But what did we do? What did the right do in the beginning of the 20th century when the left started gradually usurping the education? The left knows where to go. They usurp finance, they usurp education to indoctrinate coming generations. Then they usurp media and entertainment to create agitprop, which is agitation propaganda. Right. Now they successfully usurped all that with the complete passivity of the right. So the right has no one but themselves to blame, right? So right. The right was
just in a parody song. We got no one else but us to blame. That's right.
Exactly. So the left now is dominating all of these important arterias like Hollywood, media, finance, education. The right is on perpetual run. And now we're surprised that America is a crypto-communist country. It is crypto-communist country.
I don't know how crypto it is anymore. I think it's almost open in our face after.
Well, now, since I left the US, turn to the wars, and I just don't see any. Okay, look, in the 20th century history, there were only two successful leaders who saved their country from communist onslaught. It was Francisco Franco here in Spain, and Pinochet in Chile.
Right.
They were brilliant.
Wait, those are fascists.
No, well, first of all, whoever says fascist, I mean, the word fascist doesn't scare me at all. That trap would never work. First of all, anybody who would say that Francisco Franco was a fascist is a moron. Because fascism was ideological trend created by socialist Benito Mussolini, who was, by the way, the founder of the first socialist magazine in Italy, which is called Avanti. Benito Mussolini was convinced socialist all his life. Then he created fascism. Then in Germany, it was National Socialism, which was led by, which was professed by German Socialist Workers' Party, and in Spain we have um, two major ideological trends. One, which was called National Syndicalism, which was the Falange, led by Jose Antonio Primo de Rivera, and then it was National Catholicism, Nacional Catolicismo de Francisco Franco, Franco's National Catholicism. It was not fascism. None of the fascism is anything that's not left. It's so pathetic. It's so brutally stupid that when people throw this word fascism at me, I start laughing. And besides,
it's sadly hilarious because in America we had all these groups called Antifa, was supposedly were anti-fascist when they were really.
It comes from Europe. Careful, it comes from Germany. It's not American.
Really? Oh, it was not an American invention. That was an infiltration.
No. It was a German invention. They are infinitely more violent in Germany even than in America, because America.
Listen, I've been screaming, where are they when we need them now? I mean, quote, aren't we under fascism in Pennsylvania right now? We're being oppressed. Where are they?
No. Fascism is freedom. It's like Orwellian newspeak. It's like fascism is freedom, good is bad, ugly is beautiful.
Well, I was being sarcastic, Enrique. I was saying.
No, absolutely. But
right, where are they now when we need them to be out? Throwing their Molotovs at the Harrisburg building,
They're waiting there to start murdering you when their leaders tell them so. That's why the Second Amendment is absolutely indispensable in the United States.
It was the one genius thing our Freemasonic forefathers gave us, was the Second Amendment. It was the most beautiful thing ever.
Yeah, because it directly protects the First Amendment. Here in Europe, we have neither First nor Second Amendment. So I feel completely helpless. That's why I was thinking of going back to the States, joining some state militia, and just die fighting, because I'm not dying. I'm too old to be a slave again. I was slave in the Soviet Union. Too old to be slave again.
Let's change some direction here. Let's get a little interesting insights then. First off, right now though, just a little contemporary information. So you're in Spain. Wasn't Spain really locked down really hard over this thing, or are they still locked down?
Absolutely no. We still have a lot of. They call it new normal. They're banging that new normal. Today is the first day when they slightly relaxed the confinement. They call it phase 1. You can go. You have to wear that ugly little muzzle on your snout. I ain't putting one on. I'm not a zombie. I'm not putting that beast's mark on my face. But anyway, they are opening certain businesses and stuff like that. But still, it's very, very, very difficult. We're living in the police state. Even in the Soviet Union, I haven't experienced anything like that. Every time I would walk my dog, I was like constantly under stress, because the police would be fining people all around me, and the fine would go anywhere from monthly salary of $600. Average salary here is $600, and the fine would be for anything that's from 600 to 30,000. It's that.
Let's compare the COVID reaction to your experience living under Soviet Russia. I'd be interested to know. You're saying that this is even worse, right?
Yes.
To some degree, at least.
Look, I lived in the Soviet Union in the 60s and early 70s, and of course there was a lot of oppression, no political dissidents allowed. I was tortured by KGB. I was beaten and tortured many times. But at least I was able to go out on the street. I was able to walk into a restaurant or ride public transportation without an ugly muzzle on my face. Now I feel like I'm literally in a bona fide concentration camp. And there are some moron on top who tells me what I can eat, where I can go. I can't, for example, drive from province to province. I can't go to see and see my friends in the next province to Madrid. It's just we're living in a huge concentration camp.
Did you ever consider moving back to Russia under Putin now?
Yeah, well, Putin joined globalism too. I had hopes for him, but then I realized that he's in the same cabal. Now in Moscow, they have the same thing exactly. Muzzles, face masks, you call them.
Right.
People in confinement. They do exactly the same thing. And knowing now that Putin has a lot of let's say foreign advisors there, I'm not betting on Putin. No,
Okay.
The Russians are extremely pissed. The whole country is seriously pissed. And what you don't know about Russia, they have a
Wait. They're
lot
pissed.
of.
You say, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Did you say they're pissed, like angry?
They're pissed. They're
Yeah.
seriously pissed.
Okay.
And what
That's a good thing, though, isn't it? That's what is the
Yeah, but and there's another thing. They don't have Second Amendment, but they have a lot of weaponry, a lot from war times.
leftovers. Yeah.
I
Sure.
mean, they have a huge amount of weapons in private arms. We're talking about serious capacity weapons,
Right.
grenade throwers, earth to air missiles and shit like that. I mean,
Yeah.
they're
Right.
seriously, and they are getting pissed. So these people are playing with fire. Just yesterday, I listened to very interesting observations by ex-military intelligence colonel in Russia named Kvachkov. He is a political dissidency now. He was in jail, but he's a brilliant man all around. And he was talking about how in any country, and I was thinking when I was listening to him that it's very relevant to America. Why? He was talking about army as a uh, that most people perceive armed forces as uniform, homogeneous mass, and
Right.
it's very far from reality. There are lower ranks who are from the people. They don't represent the elites because they are on the same level, pay-wise and lifestyle-wise, as most citizens of their country. They have a lot of relatives. In other words, they are part of the people, and they're higher ranks. There are military elites who represent globalist elites who have nothing to do culture-wise or ideology-wise. They have nothing to do with the lower military ranks. So the army, just like civil society, has elites as lower ranks. The lower ranks would support the people. The elites would support the civil elites. And I was thinking how relevant it is to the United States because there's a lot of military, particularly in Obama times. Obama replaced all
Oh yeah.
50
Right. Yeah. There was a
military
lot of
officers.
bad blood there. A lot of bad blood in the military for that.
Yeah. Obama changed. Obama destroyed the military. He destroyed West Point. He destroyed Pentagon. Obama destroyed the military, and a lot of U.S. military high ranks are card-carrying globalists and communists. You ask me.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're.
I was going to ask. So I want to bring in what my theory is now, is that like I'm not sure what your position on Fatima is. For as Catholics, Our Lady of Fatima came to predict that the errors of Russia would spill over the whole world, and we needed to do something specific. I'm not sure if are you Catholic? I'm sorry.
I have such an agony of a relationship with Catholic
Okay,
Church.
that's fine.
Look. I was baptized as Orthodox because in
Yeah.
Russia there were no Catholic churches, and when I
Well, I'm
got
Eastern
back,
Rite, so we have that in common. I'm Byzantine
I,
Rite. I'm Byzantine
yeah,
Rite, Eastern Rite. So
Byzantine.
yeah,
So you're practically like Orthodox.
sort of.
No, but well, Byzantine Catholicism is very close to what
It's
we believe in.
back here. Here's the.
No, no, of course, of course. Yeah. So the same thing.
Anyway, listen. So I just want to get to the point. It doesn't matter, but what we have a faith in something called Our Lady of Fatima. Came to Portugal, Spain,
Of
and
course.
and her message was, and this is why I believe it's true, because nobody knew about communism then, especially not
Absolutely. She predicted.
especially not for little, pilgrim or shepherd children or whatever.
Right,
So
right.
she said, and the heirs of Russia. She didn't say Russians. The heirs of Russians are Bolshevik Jewry, and you know about this from Solzhenitsyn. Bolshevik Jewry.
I know. Let me interrupt you
Yeah, sure.
because it's very important. When Solzhenitsyn was a genius, but he didn't have all the information back then. Don't forget that he was operating in the era when there was no internet. He
Right.
did an admirable job on pinpointing the causes of the revolution, the genocide, the Lenin, Trotsky, Sverdlov genocide, then Stalin's genocide. But he didn't know all the information. I learned a lot since then because in Russia now, they have literally tons of new material about the revolution. I have about 150 documentaries right here, 150 on communist genocide and on the background of so-called revolutionaries, Russia, so-called Russian, so-called revolutionaries. I have tons of material on that. Solzhenitsyn couldn't even dream about the amount of material that became public since then. And you're absolutely correct. The lady, Our Lady of Fatima, predicted. She revealed, rather, not predicted.
Yeah. Right.
Holy Mother is not into predictions. She
Right. Right.
reveals.
Right. She was saying, "Hey, I see something coming, people. I'm trying to prepare you for something. Here it comes." And one of
I
my
heard. Sorry, I heard that she revealed that His Majesty, this our martyr Nicholas II and his family were going to be killed.
that I don't know. We don't actually, because of our communist takeover of Vatican II, we don't know everything that was said at Fatima yet. But I don't want to. We could go that way for another hour. So I want to try and focus back. Well, my greater point is that the heirs of Russia weren't specifically meaning that only Russia would be involved. Obviously, communism spread over the whole world. And in my opinion, I'd like to hear your critique of my opinion. My opinion is that communist Red China is the apex gold star of all communism in the world. They've synthesized communism down to the science that they will take over the world. In my opinion, they've taken over the United States right now. I see Mao's cultural revolution. I see Mao's great leap forward, all in this COVID-19 movement. This is like to the letter Chinese communist action, how they get things done in their country.
Absolutely. Just today, curiously, you mentioned it. You mentioned it because just today, one of the most sinister European diplomacy individuals, Josep Borrell, who is a Spaniard, Catalonian Spaniard, talked about. He literally said that the United States is not leading the world anymore. Now we are living in the world led by China, so we have to have more robust politics toward China, and basically he pledged allegiance to China. Representing European Union. Of course, China is overtaking the world with passivity of the United States, but then again, uh, if the country is divided within itself, you cannot fight any war, neither propaganda war nor military war. The United States is not a solid country anymore. You have huge internal dissidency. You have huge army of America haters, and demographically, I know you don't agree with my assessment of U.S. demographics, but U.S. to me, demographics.
I don't remember hearing. I didn't disagree with you. I'm sorry.
I said since the Immigration Act of 1965.
Oh, I agree with that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
America became a third world country. I knew that as early as 1981 when I visited for the first time INS office in New York. It's like a huge building. And all I saw there from the very first to the very last floor were hordes of immigrants from the most backward third world countries in the world. And I said, this country is doomed. That's it. The United States is doomed.
Lyndon Johnson was a straight up communist, and
That
you can act.
that
You can
that law.
actually.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, you go ahead.
No. That law was conceived again by our friends. By yeah. And that law changed America forever. America became third world country. How do I see America now? As an immigrant, probably it would be interesting for you to get an outsider view. I see America now as a huge ghetto with small enclaves of white neighborhoods where people pay very high price for living in relatively secure neighborhoods populated by people who look like them, of European heritage, that is. The rest of America is filthy ghetto. And people in the United States, at least from my experience, like everybody is terrified of the perspective of losing their job, because that would mean that they would have to move more to more multicultural neighborhood, of course, much more dangerous neighborhood. So if I live, for example, I'll give you an example. If you live in Europe, at least there are some European countries which haven't been infested by third world invasion, but you go
Hungary, Poland.
Exactly. They have poor neighborhoods. What's the difference between poor neighborhood in the States or poor neighborhood in Hungary or Poland? A poor neighborhood in the United States is war zone, populated literally by bipedal entities. I don't even call them humans. Bipedal entities who would kill for a buck.
Well, this is the beast without Christ. Without Christ, white, black, or indifferent, you become a beast. It doesn't.
Well, but oh, absolutely. I met down south in the United States South. I had a lot of very religious black people who were delicious folks. They were great folks to deal with. They were beautiful, kind. Just very kind, nice, warm people. Just great to be with. Of course, because they were deeply religious. They would go to church. They would read their Bible. So they would treat you like Christ taught us to treat each other.
Right. They had the soul of Christ. So
absolutely.
So when we go forward from here, like you said, it's very depressing, but it's not like, I think we're gonna, first off, like you said, we don't have any unified resistance. What we have, it'll be like the Balkans. Historically, it seems to me like we'll be Balkanized. We'll have corridors of good and large swaths of evil.
Yeah, but it's a little bit different. Balkans situation was ethnic situation. Tito, Balkans communist president, lumped
I guess in structure only. I didn't mean maybe in the entire. It does a perfect metaphor at all. I just meant in structure where it's not going to be like in our original Civil War. So we had a nice demarcation line. We had the
exactly. Now there are no demarcation lines.
No, it's all.
Well, there's certain
more brutality and more destruction than anything.
Yeah, there are certain demarcation lines in the sense that the inner areas of the country tend to be more conservative than coastal cities. Mega cities are infested with leftist ideology. But even so, the Midwest is becoming increasingly.
Well, I live in Pennsylvania. I live in Pennsylvania, and we are a perfect example of this because we have Philadelphia and we have Pittsburgh, and these two voting blocks continually give us people like Governor Wolf and his transsexual leadership.
Right.
They are the ones that keep voting in because they have the numbers.
The same in New York, the upstate is conservative.
But California is the same way. California is the same way.
But California is gone. Even Orange County now is all blue. I mean, California is gone.
Well, it used to be. I guess there used to be a time when there was.
Reagan. I participated in 2 Reagan campaigns. I mean,
right.
I was
volunteering. Okay, so I'll take your word for it.
I was
So going forward, I just wanted to say, I think well, the key to me, see, I am a Catholic, a very faithful Catholic. So, all right, that's a boast. I don't mean it that way. I'm a devoted, loyal Catholic. My faith, I sin a lot. In other words,
Yeah,
so
well, we all do. I get, yeah, yeah.
and I see that the fact that the communist Chinese have won, they've been able to shut the churches down worldwide. It's been the communist goal since day one, and they've accomplished it.
and it's not just communist; it's a Luciferian goal. It
By
was,
ultimate, listen, in the end of the day, communism is the government of Antichrist. That is how
yes,
he,
yes,
right?
yes, yes,
Absolutely. Now,
yes.
the spiritual dimension of this is all I really care about in the end of the day, because
Exactly. The same here. The same
that's
here.
the only solution. The churches
Yeah.
have to be reopened, and they have to be real churches, not the Novus Ordo crap we got at Vatican II.
But you see now, that's why I'm proud of the Orthodox Church because
Sure. And I
Orthodox
see God's
Christian.
hand in the schism. The schism between the East and the West, I see God's hand because he's preserved an enclave of true apostolic Catholicism, even though it's been what's the word when a tree turns ossified, right?
Yeah.
They've ossified, but there's a reason maybe. And I do see, I mean, it's interesting that Our Lady, again, going back to Fatima, Our Lady said, if we consecrate Russia, which to me represents Eastern Orthodoxy in all its aspects worldwide. Ultimately, they'll disagree. The Orthodox are very insular. They like their own little enclaves. But ultimately, Russia represents Eastern Orthodoxy. And the prediction is that if we finally embrace the message of Fatima and get Russia consecrated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, then
Exactly.
we will be
Exactly.
converted. And the East will come robust, already still with all its beautiful traditions still in place, its ability to
But
do the sac.
the Russian Orthodoxy will never recognize papacy.
But there's always God. God can change everybody's heart. I agree with you if you
That's
look at
true.
it on a world level. But if there's some kind of miracle over Russia, I'm sorry. It can
Yeah,
happen.
but Russians consider their church as true Christ's church, and church in Russia has been
Oh,
the
no
leading
doubt.
role, has been the leading force behind everything. And there is such a huge renaissance now of Orthodox beliefs now in Russia. The churches are, you know, that like every year they have 150 new churches operating in Russia. They and the churches are full, and people are very enthusiastic. That's why globalists are scared. There's a lot of foreign countries financed anti-religious movement. Of course, you
Well,
understand.
you and I are going to disagree on this because I do actually believe in the papacy. I don't believe in this guy who's calling himself the Pope right now, but I do believe in the papacy. I do believe Peter, and I do believe that God created an individual church, and then at the east, the left lung, and to quote Hoyota, John Paul II, the east is the left lung and the right. And then if we can get unified under the neck, and Our Lady always called herself the neck of the church. Now, if Our Lady can unify these two lungs in our neck and Christ as our head, Satan's done. He's done. But
No,
I don't
he
see.
will be done. He
Yeah,
will be done not just because of a church, because of each individual Christian. Every time we say Our Father, Satan trembles. Every time we pray to the Lord Jesus Christ, the Satan trembles. We are
right.
soldiers of Christ, and whether we I know the churches are closed, but I wouldn't go to Catholic Church today because it's where Satan dwells
Well, you
because they
see, you have
mentioned.
to. There's a very nuanced definition of the Catholic Church now. Okay, it's very nuanced.
I
You,
know, no. In
I,
the United States, you have huge sede vacantist movement, and actually the United States is leading in sede vacantist movements. That's the really,
right.
you know what I'm talking about, right? The
Yes,
movement
I
that
am.
in the United States.
I have a whole forum based on Seat of Vacantism.
That's
Yes.
terrific. That's great. I see a lot of. Unfortunately, here in
Well,
Spain, we don't have sede vacantist church, so that's why I
well, you
cannot
have
go.
SSPX though, right?
Pardon?
You have SSPX, Society of St. Pius X.
They are
It's
they are Francis.
they
They
are now.
Francis as
They
the
are
Pope.
now. Yes, I agree. But the point is
I
that they
saw their. I started going there, but I saw their material where they claim that we have to bow to this false
no, it's
prophet.
a gift. Listen, I'm a seat of Economist. I hold that opinion. But what I see about the SSP, first off, none of the seat of Economist groups would have bishops or anybody independent without the SSPX and Lefebvre's first movement. So
Right,
we
right.
can't totally dismiss them. But on the NICM, like the Orthodox, they still have retained the true pieces of the true church that we're going to need in the future. So I see them as a depository. No, I agree that they're part of the problem in their hierarchy, and just like you
I
said,
agree with
the
Dr.
military.
Jones. I agree with Dr.
Hey,
Jones. Dr. Jones once said something extremely astute. He said that Orthodox Church is great. The problem is that she is too centered in Russian ethnicity. You cannot. Christ is
This is the
Christ
problem with the
is
Ukrainian.
everybody. Christ is universal. Christ is
Right.
Christ doesn't recognize ethnicities or any other stupidity like that. Christ is for everybody. So if we center our church around certain ethnicities, then it's a big problem. It's a big.
No, it is. I go to a Ukrainian church, and believe me, there's a huge. Always the Ukrainians, the true Ukrainians, are very bigoted against just regular Catholics coming into their church. They're not Ukrainian. They hold them at
a Ukrainian church is a new creation, and there are certain dark forces behind that.
Oh yeah, we're in the end times, I guess. I don't know.
It's unfortunate you can't. You don't understand Spanish. We have a lot of very fine theologians here on YouTube talking about the end of times and how everything is. One of them, Damian Galeron, predicted what's going on today, like two years ago. He said that 2020 was going to be decisive year for the globalists' attack on currency, on creation of world government, on closing the churches and stuff like that. Now look, we got all of that now.
It's all in Spanish though, unfortunately. The sermon.
Yeah, it's all in Spanish. See, I'm so frustrated. I speak 5 languages and I encounter incredible material in all of them.
I speak one.
And I have all that great material on communist genocide, which I have to translate from Russian. I have a lot of material, theological material, which I would have to translate from Spanish to English. So I just don't have time right now for all of it. The day is only 24 hours.
Yeah, but going back to the solution and try to find some positive in this. God can always make good from evil. I mean, that's what he does. That's one of his best attributes, is that God can take the most evil problem and turn it into good.
Look, and pardon me for interrupting you. God, by his very existence, makes things good. God, because he exists. I'm not afraid. You know what positive? You say, let's find something positive. The positive thing is that God exists. I know who will win at the end. God will win, and I'm with him.
Right.
And you are with him. We are with him. God will win. So I don't care what happens here. I'm with God, and if I have to die tomorrow, I'll die with a smile on my face because I know where I'm going.
Well, this is the hypocrisy of the American bishops and the Eastern Rite, at least. I can't speak to the Novus Ordo. I couldn't care less if they ever open. But the bishops in Pennsylvania shut down. This is just for Pennsylvania. I think some governors did shut down churches. But in Pennsylvania, Wolf, despite all his evilness, never closed our churches. The bishops volunteered almost instantaneously.
They didn't volunteer. According to Damian Galeron, it was the order from Vatican directly that the order to shut down churches around the world came from Vatican, from false prophet himself.
Wow. See, that does make sense, because I said to my wife, I said, well, it's very hard for us to go after the bishops to open the church when Rome herself is closed.
But that's why you see, Galeron has a lot of connections in Vatican. He doesn't want to talk about, but we know that he's got a lot of connections on top level. And he said that that creature, that diabolical creature, Francis,
Frank.
gave
Yeah.
the order to close the churches. It was his direct order.
Well, then, so well, my response, the shocking part was the people's response. How quickly and docilely they said, "Okay, let's close the churches." And what it said to me was they didn't actually have the faith to begin with because.
But exactly. Oh,
Go ahead.
great point. That's what I was talking to my friend yesterday about. Because see, look what happens. If you have true faith, you're not. There are things that are worse
Time for it.
than death for you,
Yes.
and you are not afraid to die because you're serving. You know that there is afterlife. Look, yesterday there was that Jewish professor who said that Christians with their malignant faith in the afterlife are to blame for opening up the states because they think they believe in afterlife, so they don't care about this life. Yes,
Yes.
exactly, you
Exactly.
malignant little freak. We believe in Jesus. We believe in eternal life. We are not afraid. But these people who don't have faith, they are grabbing onto this miserable little life. They're
Well,
trembling in their boots. They're ready to kneel before anybody who, in their perception, would save them and give them 10 more years to live.
that's true.
Once that's why people who don't have God in their souls, they become cowards. They become malignant. They become
Proverbs, book of Proverbs says, the wicked flee when none pursueth. The
exactly.
wicked flee when none pursue it. And it's wicked.
Amen.
American has become
Amen.
so wicked
Amen. It's
that
not
all
only in
that
America.
that
Here in Spain, the
push.
same thing.
Yes, we are. That's why I'm glad we got to talk.
Yeah.
Here we
Here in
are on
Spain,
opposite. We're Christian brothers, and we're like on opposite sides of the world right now.
absolutely. We're Christ soldiers. We're Christians. That's it. We don't have to say. No need to say more. We're
Well,
Christians.
Jesus promised us that these things will have to come. You're just going to have to suffer, and that's why we have a suffering God, to show you that suffering is our strength, not our weakness. Suffering is something not to be avoided if it's for the right reason. You don't want to suffer as a heroin addict. You don't
Exactly.
want to suffer as a sodomite or anything like that. But to suffer for your Christianity is the highest ideal of a human being on the planet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. To suffer for the others. To suffer for your Lord,
Yeah,
your Lord who gave you so much. Dostoevsky, great writer, Russian writer, said
yeah,
something so intrinsically beautiful. He said that even if I find out that Christ was wrong, I will still follow him.
yeah, right, right,
although,
right.
although we know that
Because
he was right, but I'm
it
so
works.
grateful. I'm so grateful. If somebody told me that, there is no God, but you will have eternal life. I said, without God, I don't want eternal life. I
Yeah,
don't want, I don't want one single minute of life without God, because without God, life has no purpose, no meaning, nothing. Life is horrible, just without, without even,
what is the point? There is no point.
no,
I don't know. I'm not. I'm not a massive fan of Norm Macdonald's, but he has some really funny lines. I don't know if you know the comedian Norm Macdonald, if you ever
yeah, yeah,
heard of him. Yeah,
yeah.
sure. So he's supposedly a Christian. He's not, but in Hollywood, if you even slightly believe in God, you're considered a right-wing Bible banger. But
Yeah.
he has this great
Christian
line where
God,
he said,
Christian God. If you believe in Allah, then
yeah, but my point is that I don't want to boost Norm Macdonald as some kind of great Christian leader, but he still said some things that were perfect. So he goes, I was once approached before I even decided whether I was going to believe in God or not, right? So it was just basically about God. And he goes to the atheist, he goes, okay, what do you got? What happens after I die? No, he went to the Christian first. He goes, what happens when I die? He goes, well, you spend a happiness with God and you know about everything that is, and maybe you get to play a harp in the clouds. This is a joke, okay? So he goes, oh, that sounds good. I always wanted to play harp. And then he turns to the atheist. He goes, what are you offering? He goes, dirt. That's it. He goes, dirt. That's it. That's what you got. That's all you got for me, dirt.
don't
Hold
have
on, let me go back to
anything.
the Christian, and that's his joke, and it's hilarious, but it's perfectly.
But there is a truth in it. I always say that this isn't. This is so evil to tell a human being that you are just a little droplet of protein in a huge, cold, dark universe.
Right.
and your life means nothing. You live a split of a second and then you disappear forever, and every speck of dust exists much longer than you. It's
Right.
such a cruel, horrible thing to say, and this
And
is
it, and it
the
leads directly. It leads directly to genocide. It leads directly to abortion. It leads
to
directly
all
to
kind of
material.
perversions, to all kind of perversions, to all kind of perversions. If you have no logos, then that's it. You're bipedal animal, worse than animal, because at least the animal lives by instinct. You live by satanic perversions. So that's Dr.
Yeah,
Jones.
an animal live like.
I really
Yeah,
like
Dr.
Dr.
Vargas
Jones.
is coming out with that book on the logos, or he came out with that book, right?
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
hit the nail on the head. I have some criticisms because he seems to like criticize St. John, but beyond that,
Yeah, but look,
he
we
is.
cannot
It's,
find
that's where he is. The
anybody
logos.
outside. Only Jesus was 100% right on everything. The mortals, if you agree with somebody like half of what they say, you're lucky. You know,
Yeah,
Dr. Jones, I admire him a lot
he
on a
does.
lot of levels, and he is very brave man because to
Oh yeah.
speak openly against certain forces can really destroy your career and your life and your everything. So
Okay. Well, listen, this has been great. We're coming up on an hour, and I know you had said you had to go somewhere, so
sure.
I want to. Do you want to recap, cap things off? Try to come up with what do we do moving forward in this is mess.
What
Besides,
do you do? What do you, first of all, we keep our faith and we read our Bible and we continue being pure of soul and we command our soul to Jesus Christ every day. That's the most important thing. We find people who think like us. We need to have infrastructure, not infrastructures, but at least networks of people, friends, Christians, who, if the crap hits the fan, who would be able to communicate with each other, maybe even form little communities or even militias, if you will. I don't want to get into details because,
no, I don't want to talk about
anyhow,
that. Obviously, that's yeah. Because right
but
away,
we have to watch for leaders. If we see leaders which are worth our time.
oh well,
Um,
I didn't ask you the biggest question. What about Donald Trump?
no, Donald Trump is a very decent, good man. He's surrounded by people he's not. He's a great man. He's a great construction dude. He's a businessman. He's trying to do his best being U.S. president, but he has that evil little thing by his side, Jared Kushner, who is crypto commie, his brainless little bimbo daughter. I mean, he's got a lot of very bad people around him. Donald Trump, a politician won't save you. Us,
Right.
pardon, not you, us. Politicians are politicians. He's trying to do his best, but he can't take on the deep state and all communist U.S. infrastructures. He can't do
Well, I do
anything.
fault him. I fault him in one place as an American who voted for him and plans on voting for
I
him
wrote
again.
it for him, and I will
Yeah,
vote for him again.
yeah, right.
I hold U.S. citizenship too.
Oh, well, good man. But I do have a criticism because he came to Pennsylvania when we're under this horrible oppression of these psychopaths, and
Well,
he used none of the brutal words that he's famous for. And what I criticize is not that he said something to the effect of, well, they should really kind of open a little bit. That's all he said. After I waited all week for him to come to Pennsylvania.
politician. He's got that Kushner whispering in his
All
ear.
right,
Ivanka is whispering in the other ear,
right.
and that's it.
That they're seducing him away from his true self. I agree with that. But I also accuse him slightly of cowardice because if I had billions of dollars and I was president of the United States, what do I have? I have no skin in this game. I can survive this in the end of the day. Even
He
unless they
doesn't
kill,
realize the
unless
things.
they
Yeah,
kill,
that's why I was trying to tell you that he's a
yeah,
construction man. He doesn't have
right.
the insight. He doesn't have the profound knowledge of how the world operates. He's just average, pragmatic American who's trying
What
to
does
do
he
the
have to
right thing.
lose though by coming out big time? Let's say I'll make a scenario up for you. Just hear me out because you've come from the Soviet Union. You've been in dissident movements. You've seen the crumbling of the Soviet Union, how governments fall apart worldwide, right? So let's say Trump that Thursday went to Harrisburg, demanded to see the governor. He didn't go to Harrisburg, by the way. He went to like a factory up in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Right.
So he goes to Harrisburg instead, where the problem is, and he brings, I don't know, he brings a Marine contingent with him, a small police force of Marines. He takes Wolf, drags him back to Washington to stand trial before the Supreme Court. He can't do that. He has no authority to do it, but he could do it at first and make a statement, and nothing would happen to him. There'd be
Yeah,
no
but see, the problem is that Trump is a little bit narcissistic. Trump is
right.
worried about his legacy. He hates it when people call him fascist and stuff like that. He's trying to he's trying to
Narcissism
convince
is
the left
that's
that
right.
he is like he's a good guy. No, you have to go for a little in for a buck, in for a tenner or
Yeah,
whatever.
right. And for a pound and for a penny, right? Or
Yeah, exactly. You know. So he is worried about his legacy. He is a very vanity-driven man, and he doesn't want to be known as a fascist. He hates it when people call him fascist because he's 72 years old. I mean, I'm 60. I don't. I
Even
imagine
more reason he has less to lose. You know what I mean? It's the more you.
he's to lose his legacy. He's afraid
Yeah.
of that. We need a military man who doesn't give a sack of crap about his legacy, like Franco was, like Pinochet was.
Right. Right. You're right.
Communists don't give up power peacefully. They
No.
just don't.
No.
Understand? The United States is in the hand of the globalist communists. Either you take them out, or you coexist with them, is what Trump is doing, or you just go away. But there is no the fourth option. But the best thing to do would be to take them on and to literally take them out one by one, arrest them, put them on trial, declare state of national emergency, say going out on television, explaining to the people.
There's a few things the United States has as a people below the globalists and all. Is our Second Amendment, right? Our rebellious spirit and a massive land mass with huge resources available at hand.
But brother, how much of that rebellious spirit remains? America is not the same America.
With the masks on everybody, you're right. Part of
I,
that.
you know how many Americans? I go to American cities. All I see is hysterical, effeminate males of the species who don't look like males of the species.
Right.
They are extremely effeminate. They scream in their tiny little hysterical voices. They are afraid of a cockroach. Forget about an enemy soldier.
What you're forgetting? We had a massive outpouring to vote for Trump. Whether you like Trump or not,
I voted for him.
No, I'm saying, but there are those people who I'm talking about. And I wouldn't call them the effeminate shriekers. Is my point.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the urban populations. I'm not talking about
so obviously
rural America. I'm not talking about True Blue, Joe Schmo from somewhere in Oklahoma or Texas. No, those are real men. No,
right. And they and one of those men outnumber their men 4-1. Is my point.
Well, one true American can take on the entire population of Manhattan.
They happen. All right, listen. This was great. What was the name of the group that you played in?
No, I was giving solo concerts, and
I
also worked. I played with Miles Davis and the jazz.
Your genre is jazz, or what's your genre? Jazz?
Jazz, yeah, probably jazz and flamenco, Spanish music. But I was working with Miles. I was working with people like that, with a lot of jazz. My jazz teacher was Joe Pass, great jazz guitarist, John Abercrombie, Chuck Lloyd.
You play guitar? Is that what you play?
Yes.
Would you like to be an artful brother?
Well, I let you guys
do
your stuff. My genre is a little bit different. You're not fusion guys, but I enjoy.
No, but we can incorporate any kind of music.
Yeah, but I like what you do, guys. Just keep recording them new tracks, and I'll thoroughly enjoy them.
Well, I mean, you can always send us a WAV file if you don't have any lyrics for it. I'll throw something over it for you.
All right. Who knows? Maybe we'll concoct something.
Well, that's what makes you an artful brother. That's our structure, basically, is people send us WAV files. We actually produced that whole album. My main friend Terry Forkelly, he's in Colorado, and I'm in Reading, and we took our files over the internet, and then I took them to Dome Sound Studio in Roarsford, mixed them down, did vocal overs, and that's how we made the album. And I thought, you could always send us something. We'll try
All
something.
right, so let's see. Hey, why not? I'm open to anything, especially again people who are on the same wave as I am.
Right. Well, this
You
is
know,
this is an
so
outlet. Without music, I'd probably go loco la cabeza.
myself too, but we have our Lord and Savior,
For
and we have
sure,
our Blessed
sure.
Mother. We have a lot to live for, and we
Yes.
have a lot of wars because every time you're depressed or you're down, you have Jesus to talk to. You
Right.
have a Holy Mother to talk to. We we are
Right.
lucky.
No,
We're
I
fortunate.
didn't put music above that, brother. I just said it was part
No,
of
no,
my.
no. I know.
Okay,
Absolutely.
all right.
You're Christian. You would never do that. Well,
Yeah.
John McLaughlin told me once. John McLaughlin, great guitar player,
Okay.
told me once that God is main musician. I'm his little instrument.
There you go. I think we're going to close on that. Don't go
So,
anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere.
all right.